So, for me, looking at this tremendous interaction of humanity, then I look at the history. I'm going to now do a physical history of civilization. Then I'm going to go back to my spiritual path. We have, after Jesus, we have developing in England the Knights of the Round Table. We have the Magna Carta. Then we have the Declaration of Independence. We have this movement where altruistic statements are brought up as policy. Very slowly, it's been a slow, hard road, but it's been happening. Is it channeled well? What's channeled mean? We're all channeling ourselves, and we're all channeling each other. We're all connected. There's people in the room who already knew what I was going to be talking about, So, but this is this march. I'm now going to talk about peak oil because it's very important to understand. So that's what I wanted this for. And where's my little markers? Okay. So, we have 150 years ago or something, in the United States, the discovery of oil. Okay. Someone punched a hole in the ground and they found this oil. And they started figuring out how it could be used. There were places you could put a hole in the ground and it would just gusher out. It was free. And it was powerful. So we can take, I don't know what, we could take, let's say, this much gasoline, and we could put it in a car that weighs 2 tons, and we could drive it pretty far up a mountain with this. Just this much gas. Okay, now you and your friends get together and try to push the car up the mountain. How long is it going to take? How many friends is it going to take? It's unbelievable how much power is in gasoline. And it was free. It was free for a long time. You just had to put a hole in the ground and get it out. It was sold for $1 a barrel for a long time. Really, the only cost was the transportation. Well, we discovered it. In it's not going to work. In 1970 or 71, the United States, which was an exporting country, in 1970, it reached its peak oil production. This next year, let's say it was 1972, I don't know, let's say it was 1972, it produced less oil than it had the year before. And it went down. Every year, less oil, until we became an importing nation. This graph is called a bell-shaped curve. It's called a peak. This is the United States. Well, every country is the same. Every country, a reservoir of oil, is that on the camera? A reservoir of oil, it gets used up. It starts out, you start pumping, then you're pumping really a lot, and then a point comes, oh, not so much. Oh, now it's going down. So everything has a peak. So the world peaked in oil production in 2005. This is central to understanding the politics of our times, why our government has done what it's done, why people think the way they think who are in control. I'm going to get into some things here which may be a little new, so I'm going to ask you to stretch here. We who love the nature consider industrial man to be a cancer on this earth. Look what we've done. Look at it. We've screwed it up. We've polluted it. Look what we've used it up. We've wrecked it. We're just a cancer. Industrial man is just a cancer. My position is that, as terrible as it may seem, we needed War. Let's talk about war. Young men in some tribe, in some country, were attracted to going and testing themselves against the next tribe. One of the things they might get is a wife from another area. And this is unfortunately or fortunately how our genetic composition, our genetic pool was spread through war. I'm sorry, it's one of the ways it happened. And when Genghis Khan swept through and raped everyone, well, they left a lot of babies. This is how we've mixed our genes, and this is what part of our past. War we have been, when we think of society, it took me a while to get it, that every king was a gangster, that every king was a terrorist, that's what we call kings was the biggest gangster. What we call armies was the thugs. And that's how we've been ruled for thousands of years in every country. So you have the Aztecs cutting people's hearts out to terrorize the people. You know, that's what they're doing. And King Henry VIII did the same thing. He was cutting people open and pulling out their guts, terrorize everybody. I read a book about Indonesia. I think it had 108 different warlords and how they each toppled each other. You know, the history of Indonesia, it's the history of thugs and gangsters. You know, they last 15, 20 years, and then the next generation would come and take them out. Through war was very, very, well, we know. Emperors were the biggest thugs. And they had enough power to concentrate the technology of their times to create the state-of-the-art technology. And so we come to this realization that it was through war that our technology advanced, right up to the present day. The top technology in the world is the United States military. They have science that no university knows about. So, in looking at an overview of the history of the world, and that there are ET with technology we can't even understand, we can see that it took industrial man and the concentration of power and wealth to come up with the technology that could ever get even close to that. So we can forgive our wealthy, greedy, warlord controllers for the many centuries. We can forgive them. They are part of the process. It's a big jump. But if you see that we're evolving toward a technology that does not depend on burning things, and that's what it's going to take for us to live as a civilization in harmony with nature, all of that grief and horror and suffering was a part of our metamorphosis from this stage to this stage. So maybe we can look at it like a caterpillar becoming a butterfly. There's this violent thing that happens when you break out of the cocoon. And it has been horrible. And it doesn't excuse the controllers. And I'm not excusing the controllers who will hear this. I'm saying the blame is short-sighted. Blame is short-sighted. And no one is innocent, so who's going to throw the first stone? At the same time, we have serial killers right now who are killing people in Iraq and Afghanistan and Pakistan and aiming for Iran. They're killing people right now in the Gulf of Mexico with a chemical called core exit, and which has been sprayed continually and is still being sprayed every night in the dark. It's very poisonous. This story is not covered in the mainstream. It's a complete media blackout. I'm going to I need to build up here. So, where are we in our hour?
It's just 3, so we can go to 3:15.
But where are we in our camera time?
We've recorded 52 minutes.
All right, 3 more minutes. I think we're going to come back and I'm going to talk about my interaction with the vaccine truth movement, my discoveries about how the controllers were going to deal with peak oil, because this is real, and they knew about it. The Club of Rome came out with a report, Limits to Growth, in the 1960s. The controllers know all about this, exactly, and they wondered, what are we going to do about this? We also have to mention that the population in this time went like this. Okay, so the controllers are asking, how are we going to stay in control?